Okay, so let's walk into completing a lab. My objective is to walk through each and every one of these labs with you so you can have some hindsight on information about these labs. But I want to state this. If you do not read the chapters, doing labs makes no sense. Now, some people say, yeah, you can do the labs and get a real good understanding of the material. You need to get the theory and then the practical application. So, reading the chapter and doing the quizzes and doing the exams gives you the theory. Theory is normally not that clear. It may make sense, but it's not really actual facts. What practical application gives you is the factual process behind the theory. So in this particular lab, for example, in this lab, you will use TCP UDP Endpoint Viewer. You will be working with the Windows Tools CIS Internals suite used to identify the running processes on your computer. Now, the most important thing I want people to start understanding is this. Before you start the lab, before you even dig into the lab, make sure you read your objective and your background scenarios, because this is where you begin to understand why you're doing what you're doing. And even if you have to write in your notes a question mark, why am I doing this lab? Then you put down identifying running processes. Why? The why is important. Without the why, you just running through some labs. And I'm gonna be honest with you, that is sad. You need to understand why you're doing this. And in the scenario, it says in this lab, you will exploit processes. Processes are programs or applications in execution. You will explore the processes using Process Explorer in the Windows CIS Internals suite. You will also start and observe a new processes. So that's telling you what you're doing. When students come to me and say, why am I doing this? What am I doing? The scenarios would always tell you why these objectives are important. So this process, just to walk away with it, is telling me automatically that I'm doing this lab to understand processes that run on a computer, and to be more specific, a Windows computer. Okay, now we'll get to the Linux stuff later, but this is the Windows scenario. Okay, so it says here, it wants you to access the Win client. Of course, I'm gonna come right here to make sure I get one screen instead of two screens. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna put in the password CYBEROPS. That should give me access, and I'm gonna size this up so I can have both screens at the same time. Okay, so you can see both of the screens. So I took care of most of this process. Now it wants me to navigate to the toolbox, which is right here. I'm gonna open that up. Then it wants me to go to the CIS Internals folder, which is right here. And then it wants me to navigate to this here. I double clicked a little too fast, but I'm gonna go down here. Everything is in alphabetical order, so this would be no problem for you to understand. I'm gonna walk on down here, and there it is right there. Now, do not get it mixed up with other CIS TCP viewer or view, because you want to make sure you have that executable file. So that's TCP view.executable. I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to agree to go in, and it gives me that there. So you can see I walk through these particular steps, and that's all you're really doing in these particular files, is you walking through these steps. Now it tells me here, exit the file Explorer application, leave the TC Viewer application open. I'm gonna leave it open because it's okay with me. Just follow the steps until you really get to the point where you can do this without having any problems. So now it wants me to look for a particular file. It wants me to double click this file here. So I'm gonna go down here and double click. But before I double click this files, you see multiple files inside of here. And the one question you would ask yourself, what are these files? Why are so many of them in here? These are what we call background files, or processes that's activated once you turn on your computer. A lot of things are happening in the background when you turn on your computer, and that's what these processes are doing. They're working in the background for you. Now I'm gonna go look for that particular file, knowing that everything is in alphabetical order, so it would be up here, and I see two of them. Now the difference between the two that I see, remember you got one that says TCP and you got one that says TCP v6. I don't want version 6, I want this one here. Okay, so this information is important to me. Now you may say, Professor, why do I need to know this information? There will be time when processes are running in the background of your computer that shouldn't even be on your computer. And you just need to know how to search and find these processes. And that's what this is about. Another thing about these processes is you want to know exactly where they are located. So you see that this is on your hard drive, your C drive. So that's important to know. So it says click OK to close the folder, the properties. I'm going to click OK and close it. View the properties in another running processor. Now when it says view the properties for another running process, you can pretty much select anything. It says note, not all processes can be queried. So I can open up another processor like right here, and I can see the same thing. But when it says not all processes can be queried, I can come right here and open up a system file, and it won't allow me to see the specs on that. So just know all processes you will not have access to, but in this particular case, we just wanted to look around anyway. So that cleared that process. Now we're gonna move to part 3, explore a user started process. So in this case, we're gonna say, now what they want you to do is they want you to open up a file and see the process running. So if I come right here and I open up Mozilla Firefox, so I'm gonna come right there, click on Mozilla Firefox, you're gonna begin to see changes happen on these processes. So if I go up, I'm gonna see a bunch of Firefox application or processes running in the background. And that's pretty much what you want to do. See, that's a process that should run because you open it up. But if you get hacked, there will be processes that you will not, that should not be running, and you will be responsible for making sure that you stop those processes. And yes, you can stop processes. Although we're not going to do that here. We're just showing you how to get to it. Now it says close the browser, and what did the TCP viewer want to show? So you see it showed that particular process. Okay, so that was the Mozilla Firefox, and right here it says reopen the web browser, research some of the processes listed in here. So at this point it wants you to go pull some of these processes out, like SWC, host, go to a web browser, type it in, and see what some of these processes are about. Get knowledge on these particular processes. The biggest problem with students is this: they don't want to do that extra research, and by not wanting to do that extra research, they won't understand these particular processes. So some students was asking me, well, Professor, what should we do? Learn how to do research. And this is how we do research. It says here, reopen the web browser, research some of the processes listed in the TCP viewer. So you can pick any processes out there, research them, and just record your findings on what you find. But some people may go in here and they may type in a processor in here, and when they type it in, it may not interact because you're on here. But this is just open up a regular web browser, not necessarily the web browser in here. But I can understand that, and for the most cases, I just accept it because I know that's what students think they should be doing. Okay, so we actually completed this whole assignment here. So what I want you to do, and you're gonna see listed in your questions, is I want you to go look up some of these processes. For next week, you'll have to do this, and I want you to look up some of these processes and write on them. Start learning what these processes do. So the scope of this entire lab 3.0.3 lab, identifying running processes, was for you to start TCP UDP endpoint viewer. You did that. Explore the running processes, and explore a user started process, which when we open up Firefox, that was a user started process. Okay, and it ran in the background. Now, how do you get good at remembering to do this? So when you're in the work world, I tell students all the time, once they do this once they do this lab twice, simply take a copy of the lab and delete all the information out of the lab, but besides this here, okay? And then do it based off of what you read here. If you can remember every step to do, you lock that lab in your mind and you can execute that lab when they say at the job. Check out the processes and see what's opening up in the background. Because when a system gets hacked, this is one of the places you will go to find out what's being executed on a computer. This is Professor Sistrunk. I just want to do this quick demonstration on this lab. I'm going to keep feeding you labs every day, so until we complete this course. Enjoy yourself. Have fun.